the landfall of Hurricane Ian. We dodged a pretty significant bullet, but we have a lot of work to do. As of 1 o'clock this morning, we pivoted into our recovery mode, sending out two of our first in teams at 1 o'clock to clear the roadway to Lakewood Ranch Medical Center and to ensure that Highway 70 was clear. The FPL power teams that would be staffing our first in teams were staged at Arcadia, so we needed to get Highway 70 open. We have about 400 of our 700 plus lift stations that are in need of some level of service. So at 2 o'clock this morning, we sent out utility teams to go to the main lift stations, as well as begin the reset and repair and backup generators for the top 200 lift stations. These are the lift stations that provide the main infrastructure for the wastewater system. And so for the time being, until further notice, we're asking residents to avoid flushing and only doing it when necessary, and not do it if you do not have power in your home until we can get all these lift stations up. There are a number of down power lines and down trees blocking roadways. Effective this morning at 8 o'clock, I ordered the cancellation of the evacuation orders and the closure of the shelters. But what that means is you still need to be cautious when you're leaving the shelters, as well as returning back to your homes. We had over 5,000 people that were sheltering in our schools, and a large number of individuals that sheltered with friends and relatives. It does not mean it's all clear. It means I've taken the steps necessary to move us forward into recovery, give people access to their homes, to assess their needs, but please be cautious when you go out on the roadways. Only use the roadways to get back to your home. We still have much work to do. You will see a tremendous number of utility trucks, power trucks. Everybody's working to get us restored back to the pre-storm status. Here at the EOC, we have moved into that recovery phase. We have search and rescue going on. The areas out east in Myakka, the river is flooding at historical levels. That water will continue to rise for probably the next 2 days before it begins to recede. We have just met, Chief Lischauer and I just met with the command of the National Guard that's been assigned to Manatee County with over 190 troops. They will be coming down today from Ocala, and they'll be focusing on assisting with the recovery as well as the search and rescue efforts out in the Myakka area out east. They clocked winds in excess of 100 miles an hour, a tremendous amount of rain, and we have reports of some significant damage to businesses and homes, and actually folks that found refuge on their rooftops that we're dealing with. We have assets deployed. We're working with the Coast Guard. And so this is the time when we come together as a community in unison to help our neighbors and our friends and begin the recovery process from this tremendously powerful storm. With that, I'll take any questions.
Could you kind of talk about what the storm surge, estimates were throughout the county?
The latest estimates when it began to take a turn to the east was around 4 to 6 feet on Anna Maria. It was, I believe, 6 to 10 feet on Longboat Key. I did go out to Anna Maria early this morning around 2 o'clock. Number of down trees in the roads. There was no power south of Manatee Avenue that I could see. You could tell that we had a lot of surf come up. There was still some standing water at that time. There were some trees that had fallen into rooftops and things like that. But in the grand scheme of things, the island did not fare as bad as projected. It appeared that a lot of the storm surge came from the east side, the bay side, and perhaps less from the Gulf.
And are there early indications of where the worst damage is? You were talking about Miami earlier. Is that where it's centered?
They probably had the greatest wind impact, but I was also out at the same time early this morning in Palmasola, and off of Palmasola Boulevard and Manatee Avenue, there was a tree that downed a power line crossing the road. And it's also important to note, do not go near power lines on the ground. We've got teams out there. That's what those first-in teams are primarily doing. They've got heavy equipment. They've got power teams to take care of those live wires and get them out of the way. But it's broad, it's widespread. Terracea, Sneed Island, Palmetto, Ribonia, a lot of down trees in the Onico area. There was extensive damage at the airport terminal, some hangars. I don't know if they've even reopened yet this morning. So this was a very large storm, and even though we didn't see the eye in the greater part of Manatee, it did skirt, the areas out east. But it was a very large storm.
And as far as the county employees that have been asked to volunteer, what do they need to know?
We brought back essential employees. And we're working on assignments for other employees. We're giving them a few hours today to kind of get into their own homes, see what kind of damage they have as we begin to coordinate all of the assets that have been deployed, including the National Guard, the Coast Guard, and our other partners. And so felt that bringing in essential employees. We had some damage at the administration building downtown, a lot of water damage. So we're dealing with that as well. We're assessing our own facilities because we had facilities that have been impacted as well.
How about the island communities and the restoration of water service to the island?
Yes, as I committed, we are focusing on getting the lift stations up and running, to be followed by the potable water. As I said, when I was out on the islands this morning, they had no power. So I know people are going to be anxious to get on the island to see how their homes fared. So we're working diligently to get that up and running. Look, we have one of the fastest growing communities in the country. We have a strong, thriving economy, and the way to ensure a recovery in this area is to get these issues addressed. We contracted before the storm with 4 separate debris removal companies. They were all put under contract last night, given assignments, and they're getting to work this morning. So we are putting all of our effort into recovering from the impacts of Ian and getting us back to the quality of life that we had a week ago.
Is there a boil water notice right now in effect?
There probably will be as we begin turning systems on, and so I would stay tuned. Hopefully people stocked up on bottled water. But those messages will go out as we assess the systems and where we had disruption, and we did have some pipe breaks and things like that. The important thing to know is that we did not wait for daylight. When the weather reached a point that it was safe, I felt that it was important that we take advantage of the 9 hours before the sun came up, and that's what we did. In addition to that, we had a tremendous backlog in EMS because we could not dispatch ambulances and paramedics. So they went through that, and I think before they even started taking new calls, they had over 50 cases that they were working forward with. I can tell you the advantages to taking the action that we took. I literally got a call at about 1:30, 2 o'clock as I was driving out west from Chief Whitehurst of the East Manatee Fire Department, letting me know and requesting on behalf of the West Manatee Fire Department that they had gotten a call for a fire down the street from the fire station, and we had not yet authorized first responders to get out on the roads, and made the decision to release them to immediately respond to the fire. And it was interesting because about 10 seconds later, I actually came upon the fire off of Manatee Avenue as I was going out. So rather than waiting, we took all opportunities to get back to work, to do the work that matters for the people of Manatee County. And with actions like that, we were able to dispatch fire rescue within a few hours of the weather letting up by not waiting and getting to work.
And if residents do run into trouble at their homes or on their streets, what should they do?
Probably, if it's an emergency, obviously 911. If it's not an apparent emergent issue, call 311. That's where a number of these extra, employees that have been deployed, and many of them were locked down with us. We brought in commissioner aides. A lot of my administrative support personnel were here, and they were locked down with us and sleeping on air mattresses, so that we had all the help that we needed to answer those phone calls. And we got thousands of them. But 5,000 311 calls during these past 2 days, helping citizens navigate the issues and evacuations and shelters, and now as we move into recovery.
Chief Fletcher, let me ask you a question about the operation of the EOC. Now that these evacuation orders have been listed, does that downgrade the activity here?
Not at all. I think we will step up, and let me take a brief moment to kind of explain where we were, where we're at, where we're going. With the help of Dr. Hopes and Kevin Guthrie, the Director of Florida Division of Emergency Management, we thought ahead. So pre-storm, we had FEMA representatives in our EOC. We had State Division Emergency Management recovery people in the EOC. What that does to the citizens of Manatee County is probably put us 3 to 4 days or more ahead of where we would be to get the right resources, to get the right funding, to get the right support. We also have other assets from the state. As Dr. Hopes alluded, we just came from a meeting with over 190 National Guard who staged last night in Ocala for the storm to go by. They're from in the Panhandle that were deployed directly to Manatee County to work with us whatever we need. And we have the support of all the law enforcement agencies, all the fire agencies in the county. So we believe that gave us the step ahead that as soon as not even light came, normally as Dr. Hopes alluded, we would wait to first light. He took it and stepped it forward and get it out there. But now we're shifting. Obviously, we're still in a response mode, but we're gearing up and entering in that recovery mode, which means we're there to help the citizens. What can we do? We need to evaluate. I think we have about 15 damage assessment teams out in the community assessing the damage to see what we might need. Do we need to provide housing? Do we need to provide food, tarps, whatever we need for those people? Because again, we don't know yet, but we're out there looking to help the citizens, whether it's medical care, housing, food, whether we need to set up what's called points of distribution. That's another resource that the National Guard can assist with. And as we've been told both by Director Guthrie and the Major of the National Guard, if we need more, all it takes is an ask. So through the current leadership of the county and the state, we're addressing what we know now, and it's available. If we need more resources, we will get more resources to assist the county.
This appears to be citizen-centric, but what can citizens do to assist with this recovery effort?
Well, number one, don't panic. Communicate to us what their needs are. FPL, they spent the night or the actual 2 days. They've had personnel, again, just like some of y'all, locked in the building, acting now, not waiting till it's over. I believe at one point we were about 160,000 people without power. That number's coming down. In some cases, have patience, because it takes a while to get that power restored. In Irma, we saw 2 weeks or more. So have patience with us. As Dr. Hopes alluded to, the water and the sewer system, that takes time. Again, have patience. Know that we're working on it. Conserve water. Conserve your flushing, because until those lift stations gets working. But have patience. Know that we're getting there.
And you know, as Chief Lischauer mentioned, we were fortunate that we had these on the ground assets from the federal government and the state government. Governor DeSantis, his office called me before the storm was about to make landfall to ensure that I had cell phone numbers of our key contact people. In addition to that, this is the first time where the cities in the county have all been on the same information system for damage assessment. So we spent a good bit of time in preparation, and so now all of the city damage assessment teams in all the municipalities in Manatee County and Manatee County government are using a centralized damage assessment system. So as it goes in real time, we will have everything in a central system with the ability to aggregate damage assessment, get it to FEMA and those entities, and about what citizens can do. If you come upon a down power line, you come upon a tree crossing a street, a damaged road, anything, you can take a picture with your mobile phone and you can text it to 311 and it will go into the system. We go through every single 311 communication and we address it and we hand it off to the departments that can deal with it. So if everyone plays their part and does that, we will far quicker be able to address those needs. So use our 311 system, take a picture, you can email the 311 system, you can text the 311 system, give us the best location to identify it, give us a picture, and that will help us expedite. Our goal is to get the community back to the quality of life that we had before this storm. And that's what we're focused on. That is our primary focus, is to meet the individual community citizens' needs and get this completed as excellent as possible.
You said it was 8 a.m. officially that all the shelters were closed?
Yes, sir, and I've just got a call from the superintendent. She was going building by building to affect the plan for people to get out. And for those individuals that have been in the shelter and you get to your home and you feel that you cannot stay there, reach out 311 and we will get you connected with the resources to help. We do know that we have a number of homes, especially out east, that are not going to be inhabitable, and we're working on temporary housing for those individuals. Look, we're all in this together. You know, we're a large growing county, but we're one big happy family, and we help out each other in Manatee County.
And again, on the early damage assessment, is Hurricane Ian the storm that you were expecting?
It's a storm I was expecting. I was pleased that we did not get the direct impact of it, But this was the storm that I have been talking about for the past week, and it was a very strong, powerful storm. And you know, our thoughts and prayers go out to those people to the south, in Lee County and Charlotte County and in Collier County, that were hardest hit. I think it made 2 landfalls in the south in a very short period of time, and it did so at near Category 5 strength. And it could end up being like Michael. You know, if you recall Michael, about 6 months later when they ran the data, they determined that it actually was a Category 5 when it made landfall. And this one was within a mile or 2 miles an hour. And let me tell you something, when you're trying to figure out, is it 155 or is it 157 or 153, that's a tight envelope there. So we'll see, but it was a very strong storm, and yes, this is what I was talking about. And quite frankly, for anybody who was, you know, critical of the decision that I made to evacuate the islands, just take a look at what those islands look like when daylight comes up down south, and you understand why that decision was made.
Where can people go if they do get back to their place and they can, you know, do have significant damage?
First would be 311. The first place they should go is to a friend. You know, identify a friend that can help you out for a short period of time to allow us to look at a different solution. But just like when you have to evacuate, you're going to be more comfortable with friends than you are in a shelter, as long as it's a safe location. But reach out to your friends and reach out to your neighbors, and we all should be helping each other. You can contact your church. A lot of the churches will make space available during a short term. We're now mobilizing, you know, those organizations that help with that and temporary housing placement. If you go through our 311 system, it'll go into Community and Veterans Affairs. And that's the department within the county that addresses that. And we have a team that's assigned here at the EOC specifically for temporary housing. All right, thank you much. Hope all your own families and homes are safely made it through the storm. All right, and we appreciate you hanging out with us.